Welcome to the third in the series of the Top 100. I'm Alex.
I'm Devon.
And I'm Meg.
And this is going to be 80 through 71. We already have 2 videos in the series. You can check those out. You can see all the disclaimers, the notes, how we organized our list, or you can jump straight into 80 to 71, which honestly is a weird point to jump into. I'm not judging you, but I'd honestly go back.
Do it.
I'd start at 100.
Oh, yeah, I would start at 100 too.
Or go straight to, like, you know, the top 20.
Just drop it down a couple notches.
But, like, why would anyone start at 80?
This one's for the weirdos.
For the weirdos.
By that, yeah, she means the people who are jumping in for the first time. The rest of you are all totally cool. In any case, 80 to 71, we'll be going through our top 100, timestamps to everything, all the 30 games down below, or maybe 27, maybe this crossovers list.
Perhaps.
I don't know. Anyways,
This
Meg.
is such a weird group. This is such a weird 10 for me.
That also hopes, though, for a crossover within the same bracket.
Within the
which I
same
think is
bracket.
tough.
I think it's gonna happen in the top 10, maybe the top 20.
Yeah, that's
I know
fair.
for sure. Like, I definitely love... No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Anyways.
Crocodile.
No, I was gonna say... Whatever, the other one.
Okay,
You left Crocodile out of your top 100 last
year I did. That was a mistake. That was an oversight. I didn't have it in my collection list because I didn't acquire it in the usual sense. I just had Crocodile. It wasn't on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
That's
solve
fair.
for that. Anyways, Meg, you want to take us away?
Sure. My number 80 is The Loop by Pandasaurus Games.
Oh, I love the Loop.
The Loop
I've
is
never played
very
it.
fun.
After this.
One of the things that I love the most about the loop is that the board moves every turn. So you can't really plan ahead for turns, which is something I usually love to do. I usually love to plan multiple turns ahead, and it's a game that you really can't do that, and it's not worth trying. That I feel like it did it in a way that satisfied me and was fun, as opposed to a way that frustrates me.
Yeah, I love the Loop. I adore it. It's just so nice, and it's such a mechanical puzzle.
I've
and
never
powers
heard you
and
talk
abilities.
about it.
I adore it. Well, it's a new adorn. It's a new adornment.
How
like,
new?
Like 4 months, 5 months?
Oh, really?
Something like that. But I played it from Pandasaurus. Pandasaurus titles, lots of respect to them. I usually like their games and move on from them. The Loop was like, oh, it's so good. I think it's my favorite Pandasaurus title, although actually the Mind was...
There you go.
It's a small
Sounds like
box
the
game,
Mind.
and I don't think that was theirs originally. Was it? Was it theirs originally?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
the
what?
old logo, but yeah.
Interesting. Either way, so the Mind and the Loop, and others. They have others. I still have it in my collection.
I think the weird thing about the Mind is you may think it's somebody else's because the actual just box art is something that looks like it would be the logo to a game company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That little like rabbit thing.
Anyways, point is, the Loop's fantastic.
I want to play it now.
Yeah, and it has this fun little tower where you drop cubes through that I really like the tower as well. Yeah, it's a fun like time travel game where you're trying to fix the different modules.
So-
Speaking of time travel game from Pandasaurus, do you also like That Time You Killed Me?
I did like The Time You Killed Me, but that was one where I played it like 15 times and then got rid of it. Like, I played through all the iterations. I played through all the, like, there's like the multiple packets, and it's an abstract game, completely unrelated to this conversation. But I played through it all, went through the whole thing, and I was like, you know what? I enjoyed this, but I'm not going to replay it the way I'm going to replay TAC or Santorini or these other games.
Yeah,
I felt like
you
I
have a
moved on from
very
it.
specific short list of abstracts, and it's hard for the games to make it on that
But
short
I played it
list.
like 15 times. It's solid.
Have you played the Legend of Fozkilla,
The expansion?
like the expansion?
I
Fozilla,
haven't
The
yet.
Legend of Fozilla.
I have
Fozilla?
not played with the expansion yet. You have, though.
I have. It adds more characters, more tiles, more missions, more things to do. It adds some interesting little boss things that are very challenging.
Sounds like it expands the game.
I also got the Fur Brigade over there. That's the newest one. It's funny. Fur Brigade. I got the Fur Brigade as well, which, you know, is a little thing. You haven't opened that one yet. But yeah, I like the Loop. I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
very fun.
Nice.
My number
What's your
80 is diametrically opposed, as much as you can. Two people walking through them diametrically opposed. Foes, or something like that, whatever. It's, the
Oh
guards...
my gosh, can we take Alex to a slam poetry night? I would
Yes.
adore that.
Guards of Atlantis 2. Guards of Atlantis 2, behind you, that's right, over there.
Did
I
you
played it.
just recently play it?
I
Like
did
the
just
last
recently play it.
2 months?
I've only played Guards of Atlantis 2 once, but I'm fine putting it here because I played Guards of Atlantis 1 a bunch of times, and the games have the same core structure to them.
This game has fascinated me.
Have you played it?
I know it's like intrigued me. I've really wanted to try it out.
Can't play after this, you need 4.
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyways, so still the Loop. We'll play the Loop after this. Guards of Atlantis 2 is it's a lane battling game where you have your heroes. Each player is going to control a hero. Generally, you play in teams, either 2 versus 2 or 3 versus 3. You could play at more than that, but it's a lot. 2 versus 2 is where I'd start you off, and then from there you're teaming up with your teammate to use your heroes and try to take down the other heroes while also taking down the minions to push the lanes. So you're trying to slowly take down the minions, just like knocking them across the head or whatnot, and then trying to figure out how to use your power cards and abilities while upgrading your heroes. The upgrade system is very compelling, very simple, very accessible. The strategy and the difference in the variation of the heroes is very strong. To me, it goes along with Rum and Bones.
Isn't
and
it kind of like a MOBA?
it's a MOBA game.
How does it? It's lane
Lane battling.
based.
Yeah.
Where does it rank in terms of like lane games for you?
We're not going to talk about that until the top 100 is done.
Okay.
Oh, spicy.
Whoa.
Number 80 for me is diametrically opposed.
Yo, what is the next line? What's the next line? Diametrically opposed.
It is nothing
This
like
one's-
either of your two titles. This is Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig,
Ah.
which took the place of Seven Wonders for me in terms of like drafting games that I introduced to a larger group of people. I like that it has simultaneous play, but I like the interaction between the players because unlike in other games, in Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, you don't have anything that is concretely yours. You have two separate things that you're working on, and they are castles that you are partnering with other players. But the actual thing that I love between that, and in terms of in-game scoring, is it is the lowest of the two castles that scores. So you really don't want to invest all of your time and energy in focusing on the effectiveness of one and, you know, ignoring or neglecting one of your other castles. You really want both of them to be as good as possible to where you have the highest chance of winning. But I like the combinations, especially when you add in the expansion and get like the secret rooms and get the other little tie-in rooms that you can adjust and have even more potential. But I really like how fun it is. The only thing that I know some people don't like is the scoring, which some people use an app, which I haven't used personally. Because
Supposedly you could just screenshot
you can
it.
screenshot it and it counts it for you, and apparently it's awesome. It's never bothered me because I don't mind
I would use
just
that app.
I don't mind just going through it, but apparently it's really effective for finishing up the scoring. But I really like it as an entry title to just show people a game that is cooperative but still competitive in a very easy manner.
It's a good game. It's a good game.
Alex introduced me to Castles of Burgundy, and when he asked me if I'd played, I said, well, I played Between Two Castles. Are they the similar?
They both have the word castles in the
Yeah.
name. Basically the same game at that point. My 79 is going to be
upset.
back to back, and it's going to be, I think, our first crossover pick and a Stone Meyer title.
Between Two Castles?
No. Crossover for the whole list, not
Rolling
this.
Oh, for the whole list. Oh, Rolling Realms.
Viticulture.
Oh! Guys, we need to develop independent personalities because we're just melding into one human right now, and it's a problem.
Viticulture from Stone Meyer Games with the Tuscany expansion, although I'd probably rank it similar without it. Viticulture from Stone Meyer Games. We talked about this last video. It's a great game. It's got solid worker
But
placement.
for the people that just started in the 80s, you weirdos, you won't know that it's a crossover because you have to go back now and watch
Did they
the
not
other
watch
one.
the last 7 seconds where I said it was a crossover? Did they tune out? Did they jump into the middle of this video?
Yeah, it's for you people who started in the 80s in the middle of the video,
Yeah.
which is apparently 30 minutes from now. So
Anyways, yeah, but Viticulture is fantastic. It has worker placement, but the thing it's just worker placement across seasons. So you're trying to pace yourself, trying to figure out, you have a limited number of workers, but which season are you going to spend them in? So it's not a typical I place, you place, you place. Sometimes it's I place, and I'm actually stopping now. And you can keep going or not, and then we move to the next season, but now you have fewer workers. And then the Tuscany introduces 4 seasons instead of 2, giving you more integration to the decisions you're making around how you try to plant your vineyards and get your grapes and work your engine out.
did you say vineyards?
I'm supposed to?
Vineyards?
Vineyard.
Vineyards. I mispronounced the word so
Math
badly
is
that
vineyard.
barely counts. Overall, I really enjoy
That barely
Viticulture.
counts.
It has a degree of modules. It has customized workers in the Tuscany expansion. It has just a very, very solid worker placement game. And the card play, I love the cards. There's a ton of cards, and just it's always an engaging worker placement game.
Nice. I really do want to try it with the Tuscany expansion. I'm curious
this.
how that feels. Is that our first crossover
Yeah,
on over 60 games?
over 60 games.
Wow.
That is
That's
crazy.
pretty
It took
crazy.
64. It's game 64 is the crossover.
Oh my goodness. Well, 79 for me is, I have a version of it that I prefer, which is the one I still have at my house, which is Archer Once You Go Blackmail. But my 79 is Love Letter.
Interesting.
I really like Love Letter. I haven't played it in a long time until I went to Essen for Spiel, and we played it with the Shadowborn team. It was like our first night, and we were tired, and we got back, and we finished eating dinner and we just played a couple games. We played Liar's Dice and Perudo, and then we also played Love Letter. And we played it again another night. I just had a really good time with it. I like that. There are a couple games that are just very simple, very quick to play, but I always have good memories of them, even though I've maybe grown past them in terms of games I would pick to bring to the table. Anytime I play Love Letter, I have a good time, and I really enjoy it. I prefer the Archer Once You Go Blackmail because I adore Archer, and I like seeing those characters. Like, the original Love Letter, I have no connection to those things, but the Archer version of it, I like all of those characters, and getting to see them makes it feel like I'm back in the Archer world. So.
I have the Adventure Time one, and you have banana guards, and it's so fun to go, banana guard, banana guard. I also love Love Letter. Yeah. It's very fun.
79 for me is Love Letter.
79 for you?
My number 79 is generally Fluxx. On my actual list, I put Cthulhu Fluxx, but Fluxx in general. It's a game that I really love that is something similar to Love Letter, where I can throw it in my bag, bring it anywhere with me, and it's extremely simple to learn.
Never played Fluxx.
Base rules to Fluxx are draw one, play one.
I'm surprised.
Do you have it?
No. I have played Cthulhu Fluxx, though.
It's very simple, where it's draw one, play one, and that's it. But as you're going through the game, you're adding additional rules that are always in Fluxx. And after that, you're playing certain keepers to the board, you're trying to meet certain goals, and if you're the first one to do it, you win. It's very tricky to go through all of the keepers, find the goal that matches, and not have your keepers stolen from you in the meantime. And ones like Cthulhu Fluxx add things like creepers that can then cause you to lose the game for other reasons. Yeah, it's a very fun, quick card game.
Nice. Nice. What's your 78, Meg?
Did we just do all the 79?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going quickly.
Yours was Viticulture.
Yes, it was.
And then mine was Love Letter.
Yes, it was.
My
First
78.
crossover.
I think Alex will think this is a bit low. I don't know how you feel about this one, Devon. Cascadia.
Haven't
For
played
me,
it.
it's low for me. I'm just happy it's on your list at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
It's
played
okay.
it.
It's okay. I have one on my list that's
You
low for
haven't
you.
played it?
So I know so much about it based off
Yeah.
of our live show that I represented, but yeah, I haven't played it.
I forgot.
I have not played Cascadia, Verdant, or Calico.
So to me, Calico is better, Verdant is not. But
Well,
Cascadia...
spoilers.
Yeah, I was going to say, a complete spoiler.
I mean, that doesn't mean it wasn't bumped out by something different in...
Go ahead.
Whatever.
She's like, mathematically there's... Oh, no, there's not.
You don't even know. Yeah, I enjoy Cascadia a lot. It's a very, again, thinky puzzle where you're placing tiles and then tokens with it that are different animals, where you're trying to score for your tiles and for your animals and where you place them. I enjoy it.
My 78 is another title that begins with a C that's going to be disappointingly low for Meg.
Calico.
Cartographers. Cartographers is my 78, which is
So
a
good.
is a roll is a roll and write game from in the world of Roleplayer, and that role the world of Nailus, I believe it is, from Thunderworks Games, and it's one that definitely has continued to grow on me the more I play it. It's not my favorite roll and write, not by a few I guess that are ahead of it.
Flip and write.
But flip and write, roll and write, verb and write, all that stuff, verb and verb. But it's one
Verb
that
and verb.
it's the new
Yeah.
it's the thing, verb and verb, the verb and verb games, roll and write, flip and draw.
Is that what people are
Flip and
calling
draw.
it? Verb
Yeah.
and verb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like across the board. People, it's not. I didn't come
We've
up with it.
literally done it, and now it's a thing people
I
are
didn't
saying.
come up with it.
I just like blank and right for me is
Yeah.
just more
Blank and right?
Yeah.
What about blank and
Verb
verb?
and verb and verb.
It's a whole different conversation.
blank and verb.
Anyways, point is that I enjoyed the world of
Verb and
Cartographers a
verb.
lot. The variety of the goals that you get, and the way you try to plan around the timing of filling out these little polygonal shapes in different colors to achieve different goals based on the timing of different things triggering, and trying to find the optimal pattern of scoring with all the players being handed the same thing at the same time, and watching the diversity of the boards that are created with the exact same knowledge in play. It's enjoyable to watch just how different this can be, just because of the strategic aspect of how we approach the exact same puzzle delivered to us in the exact same sequence with the exact same knowledge, and just it's so variable, especially if you have some of the map packs or if you have the different games, heroes and regular. I just have a lot of fun with it. It's consistently fun.
I love Cartographers.
I know.
And Cartographers Heroes. And shout out to Tabletopia. It's very accessible on Tabletopia, very fun to play.
For the record, the coolest thing would be if our Cascadia and Cartographers line up at the same position later. That'd be cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, didn't they? But you mean...
The reverse,
yeah.
because we have two C's that are...
Spoiler alert then for Alex's future thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even trying to hide it. Cascadia's a great game. Go ahead.
So is Calico.
So my 78 is noun, conjunction, article, adjective, hyphenated compound word, adjective, and noun. And
I like that one.
Yeah, it's so good. So mine is 78 is Clank, a deck building adventure. So Clank is one of the first deck builders that I think I had an introduction to, like, I don't really love Dominion. I've played it. I don't really care for it too much. And there's a couple other ones that were, like, kind of more classic, either engine builders or deck builders that I just didn't really, like, I don't really care for Splendor either. And so there were just a few of those kind of, like, classic introduction ones that I didn't really care for. And then I played Clank, and I was like, I see why people really like this game. I was like, it's very simple. And I played Clank, I think, before I played Dune Imperium and Endless Winter and Lost Ruins of Arnak and some of the ones that have deck building but have a lot of other options and strategies going on as well. And so I've been interested in Clank Legacy, which I know you are a big fan of, because I thought that would be a kind of cool game to see it grow and grow and grow and see how they keep exploring that world. Mm-hmm. But base Clank was a lot of fun for me. I enjoyed getting to kind of show off that mechanic to Amber, who really enjoyed. She just created I think her and Alex kind of think a little bit similarly, so she was able to create like a really cool deck building combination the couple times we played. But I had a really good time with it, and it's an easy one to teach to people. So Clank for me is my 78.
I love Clank so much. One of the first times I introduced it to someone, I died before I even got down into the underground. We literally pulled only my color from the bag, not even the dragon color. Only my color.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was fun. It was fun to show someone like that can happen, and I didn't mind. But yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it would be bad if that was their first game and it happened to them, but because it happened to someone who's already familiar with it. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that. No, so 78 is Clank for me. 77 for me is one of those games kind of similar to, we were talking about it in the last one, Nemesis, in the last video. 78 for me is in that same category of games as experiences, and it's Captain Sonar.
Ooh. I've always wanted to play that.
Yeah.
Never have.
Captain Sonar as an 8-player 4-on-4 game is something to behold. It is chaos incarnate. It is so much fun. If you're unfamiliar with the game, there's a different version of it that's, I think, more
just called Sonar.
But Captain Sonar is the one. It is like playing Battleship live. And so, like, your ships are getting to move, and you're trying to make sure you destroy the other ships. And so, in an 8-player game, every role has a singular person. And so, you've got 4 specific roles. You've got the radar operator, or the radio operator. You've got the captain, the first mate, and the engineer. All of them have separate roles. The captain is dictating what the ship is doing, or the submarine is doing. And then the engineer just has to accept those commands, and you are verbally communicating, and the other side is verbally communicating right in front of you. And the captain is just hiding what they're doing. And so the captain's calling out commands, and the engineer's like, okay, you've gone south twice now. We can't go south anymore. Like, I have to fix the engine, or you have to go, like, east or north, because they're playing a mini game to keep the ship functional. And so they have their own little mini game that they're trying to do of assigning damage and routing directions to keep the ship going. And sometimes if you're like, we can't do anything, you have to surface, in which you're dead in the water and you have to, like, wipe the board and do a little mini game to get clear again. So the captain's doing that, navigating the chart. The radio operator is listening to the other captain, and they have an overlay, and they're marking everything that they're doing and trying to find where against, like, because there's islands in the way and stuff like that, like, where they could possibly be. And they're like, hey, Captain, I think, like, they're right here. And then the first mate...
You would be good at that role.
The first mate is helping to facilitate communication between the engineer and the captain, and is like, okay, like, we have now unlocked, like, a torpedo. And then, like, Captain's like, okay, I have a torpedo. And the radio operator's like, you have a torpedo? I think they're here. And if you hit here or adjacent to it, they take a damage. And so it is frenetic. It's chaos. It's... like, you really do have to play with people that aren't going to get, like, upset, because you might say something like, oh, we go south. Wait, we just said torpedo before you, so you can't go south yet. Like, you have to let us know where you are.
So it's not turn-based, it's
real time, and you guys have to learn how to accept and communicate honestly. But I have had such crazy fun times. We've done it at Thanksgiving, and we've had a full 8 people, and you have 4 and 4, and then you're like, okay, let's run it back, but I'm going to be the radio operator this time. Oh, I want to play the engineer this time. Let's switch teams, and if you get a really good group of 8 people to play Captain Sonar, it is an absolute blast.
I've only heard amazing things about it. I just don't have 8 people in my game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to share roles. You always
there
have
is a way.
The best thing to do is if you can't do 8, you do 6, and the captain would just also assume the role of the first mate.
Okay.
Because the first mate is really just tracking. Every time you move, that is a track to get weapons back like that, and you have mines that you can drop, you have torpedoes you can shoot, and you have like radar that can ping where somebody may be in a row in a line. So the easiest role would be to combine the captain with the first mate to where they're doing both, but 6 or 8 is the optimal amount.
Yeah.
You can do less than that, but 6 or 8 is what you would want to do. And if you can do a full 8, it's an absolute blast.
My 77 is a very different experience than Captain Sonar, but we have like 5 C's in a row at this point, so it's Caverna. Caverna the Cave Farmers. Caverna the Cave Farmers is it's good. It's good. Have you played Caverna? Have you played Agricola?
I have not played Agricola. My one experience with Caverna is I was playing with my cousins, and I was out in California with them, and between me and my cousin and my brother, we downed 2 full bottles of Graham 20-year tawny port.
That's the way to play Caverna.
And then we tried to learn Caverna at 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's good.
It was not a great experience.
Have you played it with them?
We never finished.
So Caverna is Uwe Rosenberg title. It's one that he has a lot of amazingly well-received titles. He had Agricola, which was the #1 game for a while, and then Caverna never actually took the #1 spot, but it became a higher ranked version. Caverna is one that's generally very well received, and to me fixes a lot of the problems I personally had with Agricola. But yeah, basically his worker placement again. His worker placement is you place down your dwarfs into these little worker placement spots to try to figure out your engine. Are you going to be making more animals so you can have a little bit of animal livestock going on? Are you going to be going cave diving to find all the gems and the weapons and all those things? And you're trying to pursue different pathways in this weird hybrid dwarf farmers and miners at the same time. But the puzzle works brilliantly well. It gives you a lot of buildings that you have so many building options that it's always going to be a different experience because there's so much variety in the way you can build out your tableau and the way you have to focus on what the other players are doing to get in your way. It's just ridiculously... I need to play it more, but it's just ridiculously good.
Man. 77, Meg? What's your 77?
My number 77 is a game I learned very recently. I've only played it once. Brass Birmingham.
I love Brass Birmingham.
And I think I would rank it higher, but I have only played it once. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed both the market system and trying to figure out what you can sell where and connecting things. And I loved the economy track.
Yeah, the point track. You're saying the loans, the same?
Yeah, however it is.
Not just the point track, but the money, the income track.
Right, the income track.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah. I really loved maximizing that.
Yeah.
I had a really, really fun time with it. The one thing I will say about it, which is something that you warned us when we played, is the board is a little bit tricky. That I think we all made mistakes throughout the game. That
I warned that the mistakes would be made, and then the mistakes were made.
Yeah, like sometimes things were sold when there wasn't a connection, or places were upgraded.
Canals and trains you place on, yeah.
So it was a bit tricky. That I feel like it was tougher to learn, but it was still super fun. So I don't mind that we made mistakes, but as someone who doesn't like mistakes in games, I'd rather play it again being more on top of the rules. But I had a great time with it.
Birmingham is tricky to get across to people in the very first 30 minutes because you have the canal era, and then the board wipes, and then you have the rail era. And if you don't set yourself up well, like for example, if someone who knows how to play is playing with people who don't, and they get all of their level 2 and up industries down, and those score twice, versus someone who just gets their level 1 industries down, and they don't score twice, you can have a huge point disparity.
Yeah.
And then if you don't really understand, you may build a big network, but if you don't have it connected to the places where you need to then sell the stuff you've built, you can do a lot and then actually not get much back, and that can be super frustrating as a player. But when you when you get that game under your belt, Brass Birmingham was the game that I was like, previous to that, I was like, I don't think I like Euros. I don't think I like Euros. And then I played Brass Birmingham, and I was like, I'm just playing the wrong Euros.
I love how, like, the other day when doing a definition of Euros, the exception to your definition is the one that makes you like Euros.
But so to me, like, there are games that have enough of a, like, different mechanical combination that I still derive, like, a lot of pleasure. And I think part of the thing of Brass Birmingham is that it has a physical map that we're all interacting on versus like player boards that we're optimizing or something that don't interact with each other. Having that physical space to like fight over or even benefit from someone else, like when you connect to them and you're like, oh, like I'm gonna connect my stuff to you so that I can at least be connected to the market.
And even like using other people's coal and stuff like that and having access to things.
No, Brass Birmingham I love that game. I'm glad that you had a good enough time that you want to play more.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'll continue the string of heavy Euros with my number 76, which is newer heavy Euro from Devere Games, Lacrimosa. Lacrimosa.
Wow. Yes. That's like jumped 30 or so in to your 20 something in.
What do you mean, Lacrimosa?
It wasn't jumped. It's up.
Oh, yes.
It's jumped up that high.
I mean, there are definitely going to be games that jumped even higher than that. But even on this one here, even on this list, we have a few. But Lacrimosa is new to me this year. It looks gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It very much gives me the same feeling as many of the heavy Euros I enjoy in the sense that you have these interweaving mechanisms. The theme of it is you're helping build out, I don't remember who it is it Mozart or... I think it's Mozart. I think you're building out Mozart's last piece or whatever it is, and you're helping reconstruct the story of his life with his widow. Thematically,
I think it's Mozart's final symphony.
Yeah, something like that. Thematically, I'm not that pulled in by that much past the fact that there's a musical background to the theme of what's going on. But the core gameplay is just interweaves things very nicely. You effectively have a 10-card hand, and it's a little bit of deck building, but every round you have the same 10-card hand, so it's more you're upgrading your hand as opposed to upgrading your deck. And as you go through that, you're trying to create these actions by playing these cards, top action, bottom action, almost a little Gloomhaven-esque in the way you handle it, but in a Euro, so it's a completely different engine, but it's top action, bottom action as you try to slot your cards into your player board to plan out how you're going to take certain moves and how you're going to build your deck and build symphonies and start to get the favor of various patrons and wander around the map as you travel to various courts, but as everything interweaves nicely.
If Lacrimosa is this high for you, I'm wondering where Encyclopedia lands.
Encyclopedia's not on this list because it's not out yet.
Oh.
It has to be something, to me, for my top 100, we talked about this, we may have different criteria. For me, to be my top 100, it has to be a game that is available for the public to purchase or have their hands on in some way, shape, or form. And yes, that counts Kickstarter copies that have delivered, even if you can't get your hands on it. Encyclopedia is high. High. It is a prototype that I have continued to play again and again and again. Encyclopedia is high. That's next year's list.
That's next year's list.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although, it might be arriving soon enough to get bumped in.
Manual massage.
There might be some manual massaging of this list over here, because Encyclopedia, whenever I bump something out of the list because of a new edition, I'll tell you what got bumped and why I picked that, but Encyclopedia might show up.
You need to send this video to Georgina so that she speeds up the delivery of the game to you.
For context, this list is starting to be filmed and put together in basically mid-November. And so as these videos go up, towards the end of December, Encyclopedia might be here.
And you might kick it in.
We're going to have to have a conversation. Anyways, that's my 76.
76 for me is a game that I have only played once, and I really want to play it more. It's just that it's the type of game that I refuse to teach it to people around me, and that is Anachrony. I really like it. I think that it's probably my favorite game that incorporates time travel as a theme, and the idea of
what about bus?
It's such a random intrusion of that game. I think Anachrony could be higher for me than 76 if I got to play it more, but the idea of stealing resources from your future self, and then as you get later in the game, paying back past self to where you solve the ripples that you cause in like the time continuity is such a brilliant idea. But Anachrony is such a dense game to play and also to teach that it's like I want to play that game again multiple times from someone who has played it frequently to where they can just passively re-teach me what I already learned. And then I would be very specific about the people that I introduce it to. But like, because you guys all live so much closer up here than me down in the south, like the people that I have to play with is really like Amber and then like Allison and Daniel from Play the Game HQ, and like that's just not a game I'm going to force on them given all the other games that we have, and it's also not a game that like the other people that I play games with, like my sister and some of her friends, it's absolutely not a game I would want to throw at them either. And so it's like I really want to play this game more and other titles from Mind Clash, but it's so convoluted compared to the other titles I would play with most people around me that I just don't have the opportunity to. But it's like I refuse to get rid of it because like this game's cool as crap.
I've always wanted to play that one. It sounds like we're going to have to get you up to Massachusetts because fellow board venger Roberto loves that game.
Ooh.
I think he would love to walk us through it.
Awesome. I'm down with that.
Frosty, is he coming a day early to PAX?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because if you want, we could change our plans and play Anachrony. I want to play it. I want to play it.
Have you never played it at all?
I read the rules for Anachrony right before the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh, now I'm not playing against my friends for the next 3 months. I didn't know the timeline then, whatever it was. It's like
just 3 months.
Yeah, just
3 months.
Yeah.
well, for us, not to get too distracted, but for us, we are on full COVID lockdown at the beginning, and I'd say probably on 4 or 5 months before the core group opened up.
Yeah.
But like we never went back to full game group. We just never. I used to have 20 people in my game group. Now I have like 4 core people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 months. No need to get any depression meds. It's just 3 months.
Anyways, that's when I read the rules to Anachrony, and I learned how to play it. I know a lot of the core aspects. Your mechs going to the side area, borrowing the resources, the time track, all the basic ideas of it I know, but like I'd have to read the rules
such
again.
a cool game. Such a
You're
cool
76,
game.
Meg.
My 76, again, this one's more, a couple of them are buckets of all of the games, and I will name some of them, but for me, it's the Unlock games. This one I put Mystery Adventures, but Unlock in general. It's an escape room type puzzle game. I really love games like this, where it's very, again, thinky, where you're trying to find hidden clues and figure things out, all different kinds of puzzles throughout the adventure, that you're usually trying to do different things. I want to say the first one I played, we were in an underwater submarine and trying to escape. So you have to do different things to escape, like code combinations and finding things. And spoiler alert, we died down in that submarine. It's very tough. I think, the ones that we played were hard. Yeah, it was hard. That I really enjoy that. I would rather lose a game like that trying my hardest than have it be something you can just walk through very easily. So yeah, the Unlock games.
I like them a lot. Unlock's my favorite escape room genre, and they consistently manage to deliver a solid experience for me.
I really want to play the Star Wars ones.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
I like Star Wars.
We
Have
have
you
the
done
kids one.
76?
We have the kids one.
I know.
I did 76.
You did 76?
Yeah, I started 76 with Lacrimosa.
Oh.
I wanted to chain the Euros together.
Start with 75. Chain some more stuff together.
My 75 is the biggest drop, and I'm saying this without looking at the data, but I'm certain that this is the biggest drop I have from last year.
How big?
I think it's moved like 50 points down the line.
50?
Wow.
Yeah, and it's the biggest drop. It's a surprise drop, but it's not a
Is
surprise.
it
when I
one
think
that
about
you... Did it drop because you played it again?
Nope, nope. It just dropped because, well, it's Kemet. Kemet has dropped to my 75, and that was a game that was, I don't know if it's ever in my top 10, but it was consistently in my top 20 for a long time.
I know Inish is never gonna... That's not gonna happen.
There's no such thing as the word never. I don't use the word never.
Fine, but Inish and Cyclades
They're safe.
are way up. They're
safe.
up there.
They're high.
Yeah, Kemet is also your lowest of the three anyways, right?
But it's my lowest of the three because I find Kemet is the most similar to Blood Rage and the experience I get of just the powers and abilities and the just rapid attacking each other head to head. And like I find Cyclades and Inish have their own elegance to them that are very different. Kemet is more aggression in the way that Blood Rage is, and I consistently found that ever since Blood Rage entered the picture, Blood Rage has played where Kemet would. And then I just find, I love Kemet, make no mistake. It's 75, I love it, it's great. It's just there's so many good area control games in the genre that I love. There's Rurik, there's Kemet, there's Cyclades, there's Inish, there's
We've got to
Root.
play Rurik.
There's so many. I love
Rurik so much.
After this. Kemet is amazing. Make no mistake. It is only dropping as many points as it has in comparison to other games that I find myself less intrigued and less compelled to pull it out because of the heavy competition for not enough playtime in those spots. But I adore the game. It's area control, it's fighting people, it's got powers, it's got a smorgasbord of powers you can pick from and just build your characters in so many ways. Like, I know you want to play Kemet still. Do not let
I've been waiting for you to teach me.
Do not let my spot on this list let you in any way think that it's low. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
After this.
Kemet's amazing. I'm sorry to all the people involved in Kemet for the low drop of it, but it's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge drop.
Yeah.
That's maybe the biggest I know of that's ever happened in like the 2 or 3 years I've watched your stuff.
If we removed all the other control games from my collection, Kemet would be so much higher on the list. It would just jump up spots. It's other comparable games that are pushing it down.
You have such a high standard for that genre because
Yeah.
you like so many of them. That's
I found that the
tough.
other ones I consistently want in the rotation, and Kemet's like, I love you, but we'll pick you like once a year.
That's like, I'm Kemet. I get it.
75.
It's not inaccurate. 75 for me is Arkham Horror, the card game. So, discussing, you have, over the course of the last 2.5 videos, given quite a few Cthulhu titles into the mix. And I actually recently talked about this with Cthulhu Death May Die because I was doing an unboxing. I was saying how much I enjoyed that experience and how much I want to keep playing that game. And I am love-hate with Cthulhu and with Lovecraftian horror. And it's not actually because of the source material. It's because of the pervasiveness of people using it for games as their theme in the hobby. There's so much of it that it makes me like tired of it, which is unfair because I really love like that content.
Don't say that too loud. Cthulhu's gonna come get you.
I really
rip
do.
out of a
I
rift.
really do enjoy it. Like one of my favorite visual and like illustrative and text based experiences I've had recently was the At the Mountains of Madness like illustrated short story from Free League. They partnered with a guy who illustrated that short story from Lovecraft, and it's beautiful. It's like it's so haunting to watch that and to see that. But Arkham Horror, the card game, I haven't played a ton of it. I've played like 3 different scenarios of it, and I haven't even finished the core box. And I have a massive Necronomicon organizer from Joe that I need to fill out with some stuff. But it's one of those games that I was like, I really like this implementation of it. I like the character growth. I like the item system. I like the movement around the locations. And it's one that like could be higher for me. That with games that have so much content out on them, that like LCGs and stuff like that, and then other like expandable games, I'm very reticent to accept to tell myself that I like them because then I want all of that, as you mentioned with Netrunner earlier. But I really do think that Arkham Horror could be like a go-to staple game for me if I gave it more of a chance.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Right now I'm playing through the Dunwich campaign, and one of the things
With
I love
Nelson
the most...
from All Over Cards over on
Yes.
Twitch.
And one of the things I love the most about it is that game, more than some other games that I've seen where you have choices, it remembers. It really remembers your choices, and there are keywords that you take and different tokens and different things that will happen to you depending on what path you chose.
Yeah.
That it's one of the games I've felt the most remembers the choices you've made.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Arkham Horror is fantastic. I just, I only have room for one LCG in my life, and that's not the one that I picked.
Marvel Champions.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
You're 75? You did 75 already?
No. My number 75 is an AEG game, The Guild of Merchant Explorers.
That's new, right?
It is. I got it this year, and when I got it, I didn't expect to love it. I played it once, and then I couldn't stop playing it. I had so much fun with it. I want to say the first week I played it like 10 times. I really, really enjoyed it. To me, and I think you've made the same point, that it feels like a flippin' right.
A verb and verb.
A verb and verb.
A verb and verb.
You're
Well,
placing
because that one's a
little-
flip and place.
Yes. You're placing
no
little
writing.
wooden tokens
It's
instead.
flip and place. That's what it is. It's you flip a card and you place a token. Flip and place. Verb and verb. It saves you time.
Verb and verb.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It is growing on me. Darn you two.
V&V. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's one of the ones where you can predetermine what will end up happening because there's only 6 cards that are flipped. So, when certain ones come out, you know what's going to be coming next. And in that sense, I've kind of thought of it similar to something like Parks, where in Parks, like the tiles are shuffled, but then you know exactly what's going to be happening. So, yeah, I really enjoy the puzzle of seeing what's already out and then what you can put out and reaching different towers. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a solid game.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's 74?
My number 74 is it another AEG? It is, and it's right over here. Whirling Witchcraft.
Ooh.
Whirling Witchcraft I think is very fun.
No, it's not there.
Huh? It's right there.
We're gonna have so many
Inside jokes.
stupid inside jokes by the time we're done.
Only the people who watched in the beginning.
Not you weirdos that started now.
Yeah.
It's a game where you are collecting different ingredients and you're putting them all into your witch's potion, but then you're pushing it to your opponents. So it's something where you kind of have to figure out the balance of working, building up your own board, but then what you're going to push to someone to hopefully screw them over and have them fail at whatever they're trying to do. I really enjoy the pushing it to your opponent aspect of it.
That's when I commented to you. I really like Whirling Witchcraft. It's a lot of fun. I commented in both my review and to you. I said my weakest part of it is that sometimes it feels like you lost, not because I played well, but because somebody else didn't. And she's like, well, yeah, that's not a problem at 2 players because it's one versus the other.
Yeah,
so if
only
the other
played
player
it at
didn't, I
2-player.
still won.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so that's an interesting aspect, and it is because you're constantly managing your own potion and also pushing things to others. So yeah, it's a very solid game.
Yeah, I think you suggested I try to play at a higher play count, and I haven't been able to.
Yeah, it's fun at higher players. I think strategically, if your goal is a strategic experience where the best player wins, I think 2 players probably best.
How about we play right after this?
After this. Let's do it after this.
My 74 is another heavy euro. Got a lot of heavy euros this list already, but this is another new one to me as well. Did you not? But just whatever.
I didn't want to stop fidgeting with it.
We have.
I thought you picked it up for a second. I was like, how did you grab that?
My 74 is Golem from Cranial Creations. Golem is another heavy euro that I have continued to enjoy more and more as I continue to play it. It's just, it has these tracks, yes?
When I was wondering how much, back when I saw you first play this.
Yes.
How much you were going to like this and where you were going to rank it. Because like when I saw you playing with Shira, usually, just because of the volume of games Alex plays, there are some times where if time is like crunched and he needs to do other things, he'll be like, we've played 2/3 of this through this game. I'm fine now. I'll play it later. And like I got a good sense of it. I can play another time later. Like we need to do this at this time, so we'll stop. And I came downstairs.
We finished that game.
Yes. And you were adamant about like, no, like we're almost done. Let's just get through this. I want to see how scoring goes. Okay, like I want to see how. And you were like so intent on. We might need to do other stuff, but I want to finish this game.
So for context, I had already played a partial game. The first time I played it was online with Cranial Creations, and because of how long it took online, we didn't even finish that one.
Yeah.
So I think by the time I played with Sure, I think that was already my 3rd play, and I was like already falling in love with it at that point. But it's a lot going on, and it's not as elegant as some other of my favorite Euros that will be higher on this list, but it still is incredibly good. You're managing these golems who are trying to run down the track, and you have different pathways you can try to build into, and the first time you play the game, this is one of those games, though, the problem is, this is one of those games where you feel like your engine's not good enough until the last round. There's only 4 rounds to play, and so each round you're like, I just want to get one more round and get those my books to chain, and so they can go ahead and build the golem, and then have him die and place him in the graveyard, and slowly drop the marbles into the synagogue. Yes. Anyways, but it is very well done. I do have a personal affiliation to it as well, affinity or whatever you want. I because of the Jewish backstory to it. It is one of the few games I think with a Jewish theme that I think of as actually being a good game and not like a Jewish theme pasted onto a game. And I just think it's really solid, strong Euro. Not my favorite in the Euro category, but definitely one that's sticking around for now. Yeah.
74, right?
Yep.
74 for me is Coup.
Oh, it's a good game.
This is one of the games that I have steadfastly refused to get rid of. I have not played it in a long time.
How long is a long time?
Well, actually, previous to maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I taught it to Alex and Daniel, who had never played it before.
Did you play it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I played it, and I had a really good time with it again. And it was just like, man, I was like, it's so simple. I love bluffing games. I adore bluffing games. And the idea of like being like, oh, I'm going to play as if I have 2 dukes. And I
call Duke.
And then as soon as I'm done doing it twice and you're like, oh, he's got to be lying. Then I'm going to switch to doing 2 captains. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to be like, ugh, you know what? I think he really does have 2 captains, and he faked having a duke. And then they're going to like, I'm going to assassinate him. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to block that. And they're going to be like, I'm going to call you out. And really, the whole time I've had 2 Contessas. And I've been lying the whole time until I really needed to save myself. And like, the combination of when you're telling the truth, when you're lying, with such a simple set of cards is a true joy. It's again...
You make me want it back. I had Coup for a long time and I loved it. It took me 3 years of it not seeing play before I was like, it's gotta go. It's a small box, but if I'm not playing for 3 years, it's gotta go.
It's so... I would happily do it as an outro. I'd play with you guys as an outro right now.
Don't have it.
But it just, I really do love Coup, and I don't have to play it for a long time. It's such a small... Coup for me is in the same spot as the Mind.
Yeah.
It's a small enough box. I care not at all if I haven't played it for 3 years, because it is I think Coup might genuinely be, and probably some of it is also nostalgia, I think Coup might genuinely be one of the absolute first games I purchased in the hobby in 2014. Because I was at the point in 2014, I had finished my college degree and I had started my master's program. And I was starting my master's program while Amber was doing medical school. And so we were both doing professional school, and I started to get into several different hobbies at once. I got my collector's edition PS4, started playing PS4, PlayStation games, and then I bought the record system that we still have, and I started getting vinyls.
Wow.
And because I was getting vinyls, I was frequently going to, and because I was also getting a lot of books because of my writing degree, I was frequently going to Barnes & Noble. And 2014-ish was when Barnes & Noble started taking hobby board games and having them in their stores. Sometime in the mid 2010s, and I saw Coup at Barnes & Noble, and I had been playing board games my whole life at Thanksgiving and stuff like that, but I hadn't really started my own collection. And I remember seeing Coup, and it has a very memorable cover of a silver sheen, and then it's got the image of the Contessa on it. And I saw that, and it was very striking in the store, and I saw it, and I was like, this looks so interesting. And then I read the back, and it was like a game of bluffing, and I was like, sold. Sounds good. We get to lie. I'm happy to do it. So I love Coup. I love Coup so much.
That's one I haven't tried, but I want to.
It's a good game.
I never got to.
Yeah, such a good game.
What's your 73?
73 for me is a combination of just the Escape the Dark series. Ooh. Escape the Dark Castle, Escape the Dark Sector, and soon coming up, Escape the Dark The Last of Us, which is Themeborn's collaboration, which Naughty Dog, which is my favorite publisher from maybe being competed with Santa Monica now that God of War 2 is both out. But anyways, one of my favorite video game series ever, and so I really like the visual aesthetic of the game, and it's this I like story, and I like weird stories, and this combination of the Escape the Dark series is flipping chapter cards and resolving it, and I've played it solo. I actually prefer playing it with like just 2 or 3 people, and like me and my sister will create little narratives for the people that we're playing as and like paste that on, and then we'll act as those people while we're doing the decisions, and like we really create a story around what's happening, and that's just like a lot of fun for us. So Escape the Dark from Themeborn is 73 for me.
Nice.
My 73 is The Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. I
Jime.
absolutely love The Lord of the Rings.
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
I
call it Jimmy.
Jimmy!
Really?
Yeah, Jimmy. Jime, like Jime. Journeys in Middle-earth, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Jimmy.
Not
It's
like Jime?
often referred to as Lord of the Rings.
I say Jime
Like a
too.
dime?
Yeah,
So I just rather say Jimmy.
Yeah. What's a GIF?
A GIF.
Okay.
Not
Not a GIF.
Vineyards.
Definitely a GIF.
Vineyards.
The Lord of the Rings, I played that one after playing Mansions of Madness. So I had Mansions of Madness, really enjoyed that. I love Fantasy Flight, so then I picked this up because I love Lord of the Rings, and I really enjoyed it. It's an app-based game, which I tend to stray away from just because I feel like accessibility and being able to play it. I don't love games with apps. I still play them, but I don't love it. But apart from that, I think it's very, it's a bit hard. It's one of the ones where Mansions of Madness, I think you can take your time and really explore the map. Journeys in Middle-earth, it felt like you had to get from point A to point B and figure out the best, most efficient way to do it, or else you were going to get hurt, or possibly not make it through. So I do really enjoy it. That being said, I don't think I've played enough of it. I've played a lot more Mansions of Madness because I had that first.
Cool. I played Journeys in Middle-earth, well, once, but how do you define once? I played it for maybe 5 to 10 hours. How do you want to define that?
That's a lot.
But yeah.
73 for you?
73 for me is a different sort of adventure game. Very, very different. One that I do not play nearly as much as I'd like to, but is incredibly good when I do, and that's Mage Knight. Mage Knight is just a hard-to-table game that I refuse to get rid of. I just refuse to get rid of it. I play it once a year, and then
Have you thought about getting rid of it?
No. Not even a chance. Mage Knight's just very good at what it does. From Vlaada Shvatil, and there are two categories of people. There are two categories of people. There's the 90% that are like, oh my gosh, that rulebook's hard, it's a lot to get into, and there's the 10% who are like, it's not that big a deal, I do it all the time, just watch a few videos, you're all good to go. The 10% are fine, and you guys are all awesome, but also the vast majority of us struggle with it, so it is what it is. Mage Knight, it just has a lot. It is simple, but there's a lot. Every single type of interaction you could have is a new section of the rules you have to read, and you have to remember all these interaction types. You know, what happens when you have to fight a mage tower, what happens when you go into a little underground burrow. There's all these different things you can do, but it's all based around this deck building system where you're building up your character and strengthening your character through the spells you have, through the following you're building, and just through the general trying to figure out how to build the best deck of, well, everything as you manage the action economy, the dice pool in the economy. Plays well solo, plays well 2 players. Don't ever play it at 3 because you'll be stuck for 8.5 hours. You play something else instead. It's just it's one of the best, to me, it's one of the best single shot adventure games you can have. I often compare Mage Knight to being what Gloomhaven would be if you were playing Gloomhaven in a single session.
Interesting.
Mage Knight to me seems like, can go back to the statistics of your 90 and 10, and to give credit to Mage Knight. Once you get those 10% of people who make it past the rulebook, though, I feel like it flips, and 90% of those people are like, this is one of the best board games of all time.
Yes.
And only 10% are like, it didn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
People love the game. It is a bear to play, and if you don't play it frequently, you have to kind of go through half of the tutorial. And like, I know the core structure of it. If I dove into it right now, I'd still have a rulebook open as I'm going through it.
Yeah. I think that, like, it speaks even more to the game, though, because I'm thinking about people like Jeremy Howard and other people. I think like Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules, people who are literally like, it is obnoxious to wade through the rules.
Yeah.
And they're like, in spite of that,
Do it.
it is one of the best experiences you can have. And I was like, if that is your argument, like, it is so bad to get to, but once you get to it, it's so amazing. Like, it's always enticed me as an option based off of, like, people being like, I don't care that it was an absolute slog to remind myself of how to play this game, because once I'm playing it, I'm having such a good time. Which is
very,
like
very good.
a really compelling argument to be like, it's worth the pain.
That's what it is. It's worth the pain. Mage Knight is worth the pain. They're going to print that in the box in the next printing.
What's your 72?
My 72 is one that I played with you, Devon. I don't think you've played this one. I believe it's, well, not believe it. I know it's Watergate.
No.
Watergate from Capstone Games is a 2-player tug of war. We've talked about a few different 2-player
right
tug
there.
of wars. It's right there.
No, wait,
Yeah.
no, never mind. That's not it.
Oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, that's where
It's a
it is.
2-player. There's actually 2 boxes, a white box and a black box.
Huh?
There actually is. Printing wise, there's a white box and a black box.
I do know
Yeah.
that. I was saying and seeing if she would say that too.
No. We're a mess. 72. So Watergate is a 2-player tug of war, and it's a 2-player tug of war where one player is playing as Nixon, effectively trying to stop the other player, the press, from connecting the shreds of evidence around Watergate. Thematically, that's the thematic idea. The way it plays out is by using this little pegboard of chaining people who are giving testimony through little chains of evidence as people try to block and put them down. And every round you're competing over a few different things. The evidence tokens, as well as the momentum, which is how Nixon wins, because who cares if you have the evidence if you have enough people on your side, as well as the initiative to see who's going to play that extra card every round, which is just so powerful. And the tug of war over what you are chasing every single round, and the combination with that and the card play, and the fact that you get this whole experience in 30 to 40 minutes, just makes Watergate. I mean, this is the kind of game you could even play while having an entirely different, unrelated video, but a bunch of different board games. You could still have a reasonable game of Watergate. It's that good. It's just a great experience that I highly recommend. And if you like, I mean, thematically, you might say politics is not your thing. I would say unless politics is a turnoff, because I don't really play politics-themed board games, but unless politics is like a strong turnoff, this is still compelling, well done, well executed.
I like Watergate so much that my most anticipated game to check out at Essen was Fire and Stone Siege of Vienna.
Interesting. That's the 4-player only one?
No, it's the 2-player one that takes Watergate things but puts it in the historical battle.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I've got it. So when you
Have
come
you
in
played it?
December, I have not played it yet.
We can't even say after this. Okay.
After this.
Okay.
Eventually.
After this.
That's my 72.
72 for me is a murder mystery.
Dun dun dun.
Deception, Murder in Hong Kong.
It's a good one.
This is a game that I haven't played in quite a while. But when we were playing it, it was the time in Texas in which I was introducing people to Mysterium. I was introducing people to Resistance and stuff like that. And Deception is the one game out of those that I was like, I still have it because I was like, if people want to play a game of this type, out of the ones I taught people, this is the one that it compelled me the most, that I enjoyed the most, that has enough to it in terms of like gameplay switch ups that I was like, this can still stay. I was like, I haven't like Pandemic I don't have anymore. Catan I don't have anymore. The Resistance I don't have anymore. There's so many that have like kind of gone by the wayside and I've just kind of culled out of my collection. And Deception was like, you know what? This one is robust enough in terms of trying to figure out who the murderer is and trying to figure out the combination of the motive, the weapon, all of that stuff. It feels like Clue on steroids, but in like a much more, satisfying visual theme for me. So, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong is one I enjoy quite a bit.
I've never played that one, but saying it's like Clue, is it you're trying to figure out who the murderer is out of a pool, or is it a player is the murderer?
So, I think a player is the murderer,
Okay.
and they're trying to obfuscate their own trail and push people away from. It's been a while since I've played.
You have like the ghost characters answering these vague questions.
Yes.
So you have these vague questions being answered because that one player knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And the other player, one of the players is the murderer and is trying to guide the other players, being like, oh no, I think it's really that, and oh, if they're saying answering this, it must be that when he said like sharp or whatever.
Like werewords.
I haven't played that one.
Oh, so No Rules Bard did a gameplay of it a while back, but essentially, like. The bad person is amongst everyone else, and they're trying to gently steer the advice of the person who knows stuff to the wrong answers, without while remaining subtle.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit of fun. But the reason I said Clue is because you're trying to like determine the weapon, where it happened, the motive, who it was. You're trying to find all of those different pieces. Yes. So 72 for me is Deception, Murder in Hong Kong.
Nice. My number 72 is another Pandasaurus title.
Ooh.
Dinosaur Island Rawr and Write. I feel like I keep having doubles of publishers in the same brackets. So this one's the Rawr and Write specifically. It's one where you're building a park almost similar to Cartographers, where you have a grid and you're building in different dinosaurs and attractions, and then you will move through them to score different points. I really enjoy it. I think that one of the things that was a bit tricky is the pens for the dinosaurs. It's limited. And the way that it's limited, I don't know if that's my only thing about it, is I wonder if it could be a bit better if you could build more pens with the same type of dinosaur.
Pens, P-E-N. Enclosures for the dinosaurs,
Yes.
not
Did you
dinosaur pens.
Did you spend the last minute trying to figure out what the dinosaur pens that are? That's fun.
No.
It's like this is the copy of the game they give you. They only give you one pen for the dinosaur, and you're supposed to share it.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating, honestly. The whole thing, I just feel like they could have done better. Like
Could have had more pens.
And like trying to juggle around having more pens when you play this game.
Question for
I
you.
was so confused. I didn't understand what you were saying.
That's what you're...
No, I wasn't. I didn't think that. That was dumb on his part. Question for you. Have you played Dinosaur Island?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my thing is, I played Dinosaur World, and we played the vast majority of that at, I think it was Origins or Gen Con last year or something. And I liked it, but I didn't think that the amount of time that the game took was worth what I got out of it. And I didn't like... I felt that the actually moving around my park wasn't as satisfying in the pathing. And so I bought Rawr and Write because I was like, I think that I would prefer...
Isn't it like totally different?
Verb.
Huh? I would prefer... I was like, I think I would prefer... The verb and how long the game takes, I feel like I would get out of it what I want for that amount of time in a way that I didn't for World. Do you, like... Would you rather play Rawr and Write than the other two?
So out of the three, I prefer Dinosaur Island the most.
The original? Okay.
Yeah, I think Dinosaur Island does it the best. Dinosaur World, I haven't played enough, but I think I would still put it lower than Island, and I would put Rawr and Write right in the middle. For the Rawr and Write, the dice are very similar, and some of that economy, but it is very similar that you're moving through the park, where in World you're moving your Jeep through the different areas.
Yeah.
So that is similar. That being said, in the Rawr and Write, once you move through a certain path, it only scores once. So it is a little bit trickier, but that being said, it's a lot faster too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is a nice tangent from 71, based on a few things. First of all, it's another Rawr and Write. It's Isle of Cats Explore and Draw.
You mean another verb and verb?
That's the one. Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. And the reason that's an interesting conversation in and of itself is, before we even get into that, to me, Isle of Cats Explore and Draw does give me Isle of Cats in a shorter, more accessible time frame in a way that I just prefer.
Love it.
Isle of Cats is a well-loved game. Make no
Really good
mistake.
time playing this with you guys. You guys brought this to my house whenever we hung out that one time.
And then I immediately got it after. I just liked it that much. It was
yeah.
because I was listening to it initially because I was like, great, it's a roll and write. But Isle of Cats to me is a game I liked, and I generally find that the verb and verb versions of them usually are good, but not necessarily a better replacement. And then we played. You taught us this one, and I was like, this gives me everything I loved about Isle of Cats in half the playtime, and without the stuff I don't love.
Yeah.
It was great. Like, I was familiar with the game. I was familiar with the concept because it feels like Isle of Cats abstracted down to the things that I love about it, and not the things I didn't care about.
I've never felt the need to own Isle of Cats. I haven't played it. But based off of other people's description of it, people who really liked it, I was like, I don't think I need that one. But then when you taught me Explore and Draw, I was like, now this verb and verb.
It delivers.
I was like, I would buy this.
Yeah.
I was like, I would buy and own this. I was like, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. I did. Like, the next day I bought it. I was like, boom, Amazon, I would like this roll and write, please, this verb and verb. They asked me a few questions, and they sent me this one. But it's really, really well done. It gives you it really gives you the Isle of Cats experience, those who like Isle of Cats, and it does so in a way that really feels like
Who
most
asked
of the
you a few
experience.
questions?
Amazon. I said I want a verb and verb. They were confused.
Oh, okay.
It took a while until you narrowed it
I
down.
thought that was what the joke was, but then I was like,
No, it just took a
what
while.
if it isn't? I'm very confused by what he said if it isn't.
I highly recommend Isle of Cats Explore and Draw, both if you like Isle of Cats, because you might find that gives you the same experience in a shorter playtime, which might be great. And if you didn't like Isle of Cats, you might find, like myself, and it's not that I didn't like Isle of Cats, I like other games in that genre more, but for me, Isle of Cats Explore and Draw is
Really well done.
Nice.
really well done.
Really well
Yeah.
done.
That was your first chef's kiss.
Just because I think my expectations on it were so low because of it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just...
Yeah, it hits a good spot. It's a good spot.
It's a
And
good
I will
spot.
shout out, compared to something like Cartographers, which you've already mentioned, it's one where you are drawing with a dry erase marker, and they give you one for every color of cat. So instead of you trying to do different patterns or just write like a O for orange, they give you orange markers.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
a color for all of them, which I really
Which
appreciate.
Cartographers did in the deluxe over-the-top edition, but not the base game.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your 71?
My 71 is a little game called Ticket to Ride.
Ooh.
I was surprised. Ooh. Ooh, ooh. I was surprised that for me, Ticket to Ride ranked so high. But for me, it's one that I do ask to play often. I don't know if I would say I love it, like, just being asked about it, but I do ask to play it often, and I ranked it very highly. It's a classic. It's another Days of Wonder title. You're collecting all these cards of different colors to place your trains and make different routes. And it's, again, another one where you can kind of screw over your neighbor, almost like similar to Azul, where you can try to take routes from them. Or even if you start noticing they're taking a certain color of cards, start taking those colors on them instead. But usually you just focus mostly on your own train and then that aspect. I enjoy it. It's one of the games that I ask to play often where I don't care if I lose. There are a lot that I ask to play because I want to excel at it, and that's one that I'm happy to have the experience regardless of how I do.
I think this is like Catan, which you brought up in your last or previous whichever one. The idea of this, there's a degree of just Ticket to Ride is a game I got rid of, but I always have fun playing it. It's just simple,
Yeah.
it's fun. You like to collect trains, collect cars, lay down track, boom, get these points, do that. Try to draw a bunch of passenger cards. Look at this, I collected 5 routes. It is very compelling. It's very simple. It has a lot of respect just for what it did and the space it has, the place it has in this hobby.
And if we're doing just like groupings of them, they do have smaller ones that are a lot faster to play and get to the table. So if you have less players or less time, there's something like Ticket to Ride London. London is my favorite of the small box expansions, versions. It's not really expansion,
Iterations.
but yeah. So there's also those to check out as well.
Standalones.
Versions.
Aspects.
Variants.
TTRL.
Editions.
All right, I'm going to show you.
I like edition.
To cap it off, my 71 is a game that I have only played once, and I think that if I play it more, it will get higher. And that is Feast for Odin. I've played it one time. I've played it
Same.
on Board Game Arena, and it was a learning game in which I had gone through. So Board Game Arena has a very interesting thing where it's got the games, but it also has tutorials for the games, but the tutorials are scripted and made by users, I'm pretty sure, because I've done the one for Viticulture 2 when I was reminding myself how to do that solo, and it's very apparent to me that it's non-standardized tutorials in the games. But so I did the tutorial, and I was like, okay, that's how I play. And then I played with like 3 people from the Table Knots Discord, And
You
it took
play a game at Feast for Odin? Oh.
It took forever to play that one game asynchronously on Board Game Arena. It took us like 2 weeks to finish that game. But
Literally?
like actually like asynchronously
Yeah.
for people at different times and different time zones I think as well. And so it took forever to play, but as I was playing I was like, this is a game that you could take so many paths to victory. And I was like, there are some strategies that I think are very strong. Like I just intuitively went down the route of immigration, where I got my ships and I put them on my feast board to reduce my cost of feasting, and then also to flip them and get like way more
points, whatever,
21 points or 15 points. And
I think it's 18 and 25, I think. I forget. Either way. I could be wrong.
It could be all the way as 25. I thought it was 21, but
It's
I could be wrong.
The point of this
Anyways.
24.
Yeah, I think it's probably like 23. So Feast for Odin, I was like, this is an awesome game. And I actually came away from that going, I think this is way more teachable and approachable than most people think at first. Because, like, for me, there are certain games where the way I would teach it is, hey, ignore this whole aspect of the game and just find out how it falls together at the end. And Feast for Odin, I was like, literally just... You do whatever you want in that game. And when you find out, like, you start off with, like, negative points, like negative 70 or 75 points or something.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, I had, like, 50 or something. And I was like, for the first game, I was actually really happy with that. But I was like, I genuinely think that there is something exciting about figuring out what path you want to go to. It's so good.
It's worker placement with like 64 places you can place your worker.
Yeah,
which sounds intimidating.
It sounds intimidating, but I'm like,
not.
literally just do it and see how it plans out. And that is that's terrifying. Like when I said that, you were like, "Oh my god, never teach me a game where you tell me to do that." Just like, but it could be paralyzing to some people. But I really liked it, and I was like, this took me 2 weeks to play. I really didn't know what I was doing because I had just done a halvesy tutorial from someone else. And I was like, and I was just kind of doing the BGA thing where you hover over something, read its text, and then just do it. But I was like, wow, I was like, I see why this game is so highly liked by people. It was phenomenal, and I was like, oh, I really want to play this more. And I have a physical copy of it, and I played that. I played the digital copy to where I could be like, now I could play this physically and not feel daunted by it. But 71 for me is Feast for Odin. I really like it.
It's a good game. I really like it a lot. I played it a few times. I have the Feast for Norwegian expansion. I want to loop that in soon because it is a very good game. Yeah.
I played it for the first time at WSBG, and I paid a lot into upgrading the items. And my mistake was the blue tiles have numbers on them.
Oh, that's right.
And those aren't scoring numbers.
That's how much they cost, right?
Yeah. And I thought they're also worth that at the end of the game, and that's completely my fault, not on anyone that taught it to us. But
Board Game Dave, you're amazing.
I didn't want to say it wasn't
No,
his
he's
fault
amazing.
at
It was he didn't teach it wrong. It's amazing.
I misunderstood and thought that those were all a bunch of points for me, so I was paying way too much into upgrading things that I never needed to upgrade.
The really nice thing about the blue, though, is you can place them adjacently.
But so she was being, the problem is,
all blue.
to some extent, you want to optimize.
Because I kept thinking I was making points.
Because you want to optimize on some blue. Going all blue is just completely inefficient. So she was pursuing an inefficient engine for all the points she wasn't going to get.
Right. Like I just kept upgrading for no reason.
Yeah. It's a great game. We're going to play it again with the Feast of Oceans expansion. Feast for Norwegian expansion.
I'm assuming that wasn't your first time at WSBG.
No, that was my second time, and I played it against it. I played it 3 times by now.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot.
Yeah. Feast for Odin could be a lot higher for me.
It's so good. Anyways, that is numbers 80 through 71, right? 80 through 71? It sounds right. We are 90 games in so far. 1 crossover.
A single crossover.
Single crossover.
There's going to be some, based on, I think a couple of the ones, at least 2 of the ones I said, I know are going to be crossovers.
There's a lot of crossovers coming. I'm not worried about that at all. I know the crossovers. There's a lot.
I like the crossovers when they're in the same video.
Yeah.
None of those.
Yeah.
Got none of those so far.
Not yet.
But that's a wrap on this one. We'll be back again with another 10 of these from 70 down to 61 shortly. Until next time, I'm Alex.
I'm Devon.
And I'm Meg.
Have a good one.
Bye.